Bob Olson,
Here.
John Nicholson, Mike Copine,
Yes.
Jim Sheeline,
Here.
Daniel Allen for Chris Norberg,
Here.
and Doug Farst.
Here. Okay, everybody get a chance to look the minutes over? Is there any corrections? No corrections? If none, we'll let them stand as read then. We got visitors. We'll go to visitors here. Kevin, you got anything you want to share with us?
I'm on the agenda.
Okay. Courtney, Chris, Dee. All right. Marilyn Shippard.
Just watching, seeing what happens. If I got an issue, I'll jump in when it happens.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Nancy. All right, let's go to the monthly claim sheet, or I guess reports from chair. Sorry. We'll start out with Mr. Gobin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public safety met yesterday in this room. Previous meeting minutes were approved without any corrections or additions. We reviewed the claims. Motion was made for approval, acceptance and approval of the claims, which passed. Short update on the quarterly updated collection on unpaid fines, which is in the previous minutes. Old business was left on the agenda in case there were questions that came up. The sheriff was present, that if he had to answer anything, he could have done that. We didn't have any topic of major discussion there. Resolution of appointment of Henry Gertis to the Lee County Sheriff's Merit Commission. A resolution was voted on and passed to be sent on. As far as B, Mr. Lally is here today, and I believe he is on the agenda also for discussion on that. Other than that, it was a relatively short meeting. Anything that you might have questions on would be in minutes of the meeting, and that's the end of my report.
Any questions for Mike? Thanks, Mike. Danielle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Administrative Services met on Monday. A few items that we covered. Tablets, laptops for board members. IT is still working on getting that information, or at least as of Monday, to Wendy with recommendations and costs. We had the election equipment update, which I assume will be covered maybe later, but that seems to be moving along good. We did talk about board rules, and I know Wendy, you're probably giving an update on that.
Yep, just a real quick update. I think many of you have heard this spiel from your prior meetings. So there will be a board rules and procedures revision moving through to the full board. Key topics were the idea of mirroring the Open Meetings Act with regard to allowing remote attendance in 3 particular situations. And also mirroring the Open Meetings Act with regard to allowing the board to establish its schedule of annual meetings, committee and full board meetings on or before the beginning of the fiscal year or on or before the beginning of the calendar year at the county's desire. So that just gives us a little bit more flexibility with regard to when those meetings would get determined by the board. We also did modify then if the concept of remote board members being allowed to attend meetings remotely for one of the 3 reasons that are allowed under the Open Meetings Act, then we also needed to revise the board rules to allow for per diem and voting authority from that remote attendance. So there's been a revision to that as well. Those are the key things. Again, most of you have already heard this spiel, so I will just call it quits there unless anyone has any questions.
Then we continued on to discuss board meeting times. There were 2 recommendations. One was to have split meetings, so 9 a.m. County board meetings from November through March, and then nighttime April through October. And then another motion was to have all county board meetings at 6 p.m. That was passed and moved on to executive from admin services. And then the last item that we covered was the administrative services is recommending a claims committee, and move that up. I think that's all I have unless anybody has any questions.
I do on the claims. We've talked about different ways. When do you want to share what we're thinking at the last?
So we've had, the idea of the claims committee came up just very, very recently. So we haven't really had a good opportunity to vet it with all the individuals that should have some input into this. In particular, the process of how we process claims and the timing of that needs to be vetted with staff internally, clerk's office and treasurer's office. I do have a meeting next week with them to talk to it. I also have a meeting of the department heads to get their feedback on the concept of having a claims committee. The original concept that came forward again very recently was that we establish a claims committee. The concept was like 3 individuals with potentially 3 alternates that would twice a month review all of the claims and have the authority given to them by the full board by resolution or ordinance that would allow them to actually authorize the payment of the claims. So the concept was that then twice monthly claims could be paid in a very efficient and quick manner by having this claims committee approve that. There's been a couple different concepts or tweaks to that have been presented to us. And what I would say to you all is that I would like the next month to kind of get that input from all the individuals I mentioned and bring it back to you here in December with an actual recommendation on how we proceed forward with the claims committee. Other than that, I'd take any input you have or any questions you have on the topic.
No, I think we need to look at it and come up with a plan. Paid and vacation, Danielle's looking at right now, it's 424,000. That's too much to run through one person. So,
Let's back up where we were.
yeah. So,
And this would obviously eliminate 99.9% of that claims paid in vacation. The other benefit is that it really would make the staff side of things much more efficient, because instead of paying individual claims paid in vacation as they come up daily, weekly, whatever the case may be, we'd be doing the claims in 2 batches. It would be so much more efficient on the staff side to just do 2 batches of claims a month. So.
Wendy, this is on the agenda as a resolution. What are we gonna do with it? Are we gonna table that or?
Well, that's up to you, but yeah, that's what I would request, because again, we just came up so recently. We don't really have all the things vetted. We've got a lot more input to get, and I really think I can get that all done, that by December I can come back with the presentation. The good news is, again, with your board rules changing that allow you to set your calendar of committees and full board meetings by the 1st of the calendar year, we've got a little time to be able to determine what we're going to do, establish that committee, establish the dates that committee would meet, and then get that out on that annual list of meeting dates by the 1st of the calendar year.
I just noticed Bob hadn't drawn up any kind of, nobody drawn up a resolution, so to speak, so.
Yeah, and not yet, because, no, we've got some things to vet yet.
Okay.
go ahead, Mike.
If this process all comes to fruition and everything, are the responsible department heads going to be expected to attend this meeting for claims, or no?
Well, they certainly could, because it's an open meeting. But what we're envisioning with the software changes we're looking at making, instead of the individual departments submitting on paper as they do now, their individual claims for review by all of you at your meetings, we are looking at establishing, as part of the accounts payable software system, a claims process that would allow them to log into the accounts payable system, obviously with the appropriate authorities and restrictions set up. But they would go in, enter their own claim in. They would attach a PDF, a copy of the invoice, and it would all be entered into the system. At each level of doing this, there would be authority set up. So level 1 would be the department head has to sign off on it, just as they do now, but they do it on paper. Level 2 would be what claims you want the administrator to be able to sign off on or review. Level 3 would be the claims committee. Level 4 would be, you know what, this is outside even the level of authority we want to grant to the claims committee. So this is going to be either a individual standing committee decision or a full board decision. We envisioned that would be something like when it would be something that hadn't been budgeted that came up or that was different than what was budgeted, that it would come back before the board. Our vision, by the way, isn't that we would take all of this away from your purview. You would still receive, albeit in a little bit different format and hopefully a much more transparent format, the report each month at your full board meeting as to what claims were paid, and you'd have totals of everything that was paid on the individual departments or line items, just as you do now, albeit in a little bit different format. Make sense?
I think what she's getting at, we don't have it totally straightened out yet, but we just want you aware, we're working on it. We're gonna be a little different.
Well, yeah, I realize it'll take a little bit. I do like the opportunity for the department heads that if they have explanations, and I'm sure that it'll probably be available through the laptop too, but I do like that. Now, we just did the claims and got paid in vacation already. Could be claims from the last month, which is very understandable, but we're back at 2 pages again now, so.
Yeah, it gets, like I said, there's 424,000 in there. You know, yeah, just too much. One's the building project and that should have went through committee. I don't know why we didn't, but, you know, so we're just trying to get more transparency on,
Thank
you know,
With transparency, you know, there used to be a claims committee for many years, and it was
Yeah.
dissolved about 8 or 9 years ago. And I kind of miss it because of that one more level of lies goes on with claims. You know, I don't, trying to make work.
Yeah.
But transparency is a thing, especially with the tax money.
transparency, and we want to streamline things and make it
Yeah.
simpler. So any more discussion? And, you know, capital projects would surely go through committee, you know, so let us work behind the scenes and get something that is palatable for everybody to sign off on. So. All right. John, you want to do properties?
Yeah. We met last Monday, actually. Sorry about that. Met last Monday and paid our claims. Had a lot of petitions. Dee's sitting back there somewhere, and she can elaborate on any of them if we need them. The old courthouse was covered. That's wrapped up. I believe everybody thinks they did a nice job. I haven't heard any complaints whatsoever. We all laid eyes. Tom, Greg and I all laid eyes on the job that was done, and the on-site foreman was a really very diligent guy. We spent probably one day a week last month going over some plans, designs for the old jail. And we're coming up on designs now. We've got structural approved, but it come up with designs. Storage for maintenance and EMA was taken care of. We've got a hangar out at the airport that's going to work just dandy. I think Kevin's real happy with that. Gets all the emergency stuff together in one spot. That's pretty much it. We had a few other items, a couple reappointments. I think that would be it, unless somebody has questions.
Questions for John? Thanks, John. Jim, finance?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance Committee met this morning, and we had a informational update from Kevin Marks of LCIDA. Kevin and I had ran into each other, and I'd asked him, I said, we need, you know, the county really needs to have a good understanding of what LCIDA does and what they're doing for the county and how we can partner and work together strongly as we go forward. And Kevin was all about that. I came into a committee meeting this morning and gave us an update of what is going on with LCIDA. And but also brought a challenge to us as far as developing a communication of what our expectations are as a county to his organization. So that's something that we need to communicate to and whatnot. So I'd like to have Kevin come on twice a year to the Finance Committee and talk about what he's doing. And I'd certainly like, and I guess he's going to be coming to board meeting next week and talk about what he's got going on with the business plan and whatnot. So anyway, it was glad to see Kevin. Then we had absolutely wonderful Treasurer's Financial Monthly Report, which was, our treasurer said that we're okay. And I'm always glad to hear that the treasurer says we're okay. So that was the monthly treasurer's report. We had in old business, we had talked about the board organizational software. The Finance Committee did approve the subscription for on board, and we also approved the purchase of tablets and keyboards for that, and then also gave authorization for the administrator to develop bids for the improvements here in this room. So we we had a little bit of what seemed to be very confusing. It all worked and we got it done. But we had a conflict in regards to, we had awarded the contract to Adabak and Amen for the 3 years audit of the county. Come to find out, there was conflict. So we had a series of motions that kind of backed out of that. And we've extended a 1-year contract with, so Whitley will be doing our auditing for this thing.
Why did they bid if they knew there was gonna be an issue?
Well, that's one of the questions. And there was a lot, and whether it's when Paula puts the request or proposal or bid out for the county work, whether we need to be clear to the vendors on what our expectations are. I mean, they're auditors, you would think that they would know how to respond, but anyway, there was definitely some confusion there. There was also some confusion in regards to the specificity of what the audit would entail. So I, this gives us a year. We'll have Whitley do it another, and then we'll put it out for bids again after this year. So on items I through L under the proposed agenda, those are all just routine information items. They don't need to be on the agenda. We did get the reports on what those all were from Greg, and those are just regular budgetary items.
You're under 12 new business?
Under 12 new business, I through L does not need to be on the agenda.
Okay.
And then on item M, we had some discussion in regards to the MOU between us and Lots. And there's some things that
Work out yet, huh?
have come up to light that need to be worked on. So the committee did table that, so that does need to be on the agenda as well. We did approve the recommendation from the ARPA committee to do the audiovisual upgrade request, and also motion to approve the regional ROE Nexus program request. That was also a recommendation from the ARPA committee. Then we did 2 budget adjustments for wrapping up this year, 2021 fiscal year, and that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Jim?
Minor point. It's probably on the other agenda, Becky. Probably on the other agenda. Kevin Mark's going to be at our meeting. He's going to bring Dan Langloss with him. And there's some huge development going south of town right now, and it was just all wrapped up. Just couldn't be spoken about via Lucida, but he's going to bring Dan Langloss along, who's city manager for Dixon. What's that? Microphone.
Touche.
I'm sorry, Becky.
Nobody's watching me.
Couldn't resist, Becky.
I said touche. It is a tough crowd.
Tough crowd.
Red, Becky.
It's the heat, I'm sure, so. I'll get even, no,
I know
what was
that.
the question?
She's asking
I did.
what you were asking.
I'll ask the
I
question.
don't have a
Thank you,
copy
Nancy.
in front of me for the agenda for next Thursday night, but Kevin Marks is going to be speaking to the board.
So she's asking a guest speaker, or what do we put him in there?
Yeah, I think guest speaker would probably be good, and he's going to bring along Dan Langloss. They're going to speak primarily on what the development is south of Dixon, because there's been some huge developments south of Dixon that will benefit the county.
And John, who's Kevin Marks with? I'm sorry.
Dan Langloss, he's a city manager for Dixon.
He's LCID.
LCIDA.
I'll answer that for him, right? All right, we got him down. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I didn't want to just slip by me and forget.
All right. Doug, transportation?
Yeah, we met this past Monday, the 8th, in Amboy course at the headquarters. We didn't have a quorum there. We have a new member, Mike Books, on the committee. It was a pretty short meeting, not a lot happening, highlights. we couldn't approve the claims. We recommend approval of the claims. They'll be done at full board. We did go over the county FY 2022 annual motor fuel tax maintenance appropriation resolution. We again recommended passage of that. The other things that we're on was, well, one of the important ones that could run into some serious money if we have a tough winter is the salt contract. We'd locked in last year at $59.46 a ton. CMS cut it back or eliminated it actually. So this, we're gonna go to $75 a ton. It's the cheapest we can get it this year for the salt application for the winter. That could increase up to about $47,000 increase in the budget down there. The other thing, we got rid of the old forklift and a new dump truck. The order has been placed, it was approved. The truck will not be in service probably till the winter of 2023 because of supply chain issues. And by the time we get the truck next year and else gets it set up, so. Solid waste report, real quick, electronics, it's done for the year till next April. It'll start up again. Approximately 100,000 pounds were collected. So that's good. And the next meeting is Monday, December 6th, 8 a.m. at the Highway Department building in Amboy. That's my report.
Any questions for Doug?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The monthly claim sheet went around. I'd entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Jim first, John seconds it. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried. Down number 6. I've got A through D. We want them on the agenda, I assume. Any problems with that? I can read them, but nobody wants to hear me read through them. All right, thank you. Let's go to 7. We're going to take A out. They're not ready. So we'll go with B through E on the agenda. Everybody okay with that? Okay, so 8, there's no petitions. 9, we have A. We want 9A on the agenda. Any questions? 10, got that. 11, old business, redistricting, election, and census data. I think we're ready for that. Do we want to have that on there? And Nancy, are you ready? Do you want to give a report? Or do you want to wait?
I have a little bit of information on that. There's not a lot. I mean, the office downstairs, luckily Monday night from Carmen got census data. So they are moving forward with that. I can share the good news is the county board lines will not change. So that's huge.
Yeah, why don't we put that on the agenda? Then you can share that. Then
Okay.
Are we okay with that?
And did you want me to go ahead and speak on C also, Bob, or do you want to do B first?
C, you ordered the equipment. Do we need that on the agenda though, or is there anything?
Well, what I want to keep you guys up to date on is last Friday, the old equipment was removed from this building and went to Amboy and into the electronic recyclable. So that was huge. Everything just kind of fell into place. You know, there was the deadline with that ending. I do believe it was Monday. So we scrambled last week, got what little information was left in those old machines out, and then tore them apart. And some of the stuff didn't need to go to Amboy. Some could just go into the dumpster. So the good news is that equipment is gone. And then actually today, Liberty came today and picked up, which we call our suitcases, which they make an insert in there to hold our equipment. So he came and picked up those pieces today. They're working on that. So, I mean, we're probably looking at sometime maybe next month, maybe it'll be closer to January that the new equipment will be arriving here. And on that note, they did drop off these beautiful planning calendars. And I just wanted to ask you, he's dropped off like 50 of them. And could I give those to Becky and they can be part of the agenda packet for next week?
Sure.
Thank
Put them on
you.
the tables or
Thank
desks. So you want C on there? Do you want to talk about that?
Whatever you think, Mr. Chairman.
It's up to executive committee. I don't know if it's,
So informational to the board members might be good. One last time with it.
all right.
Put you on, but doesn't put you on very long.
Right,
So we're gonna do A and C. We're gonna take out B because of the claims procedure is not,
right. And then I'm sorry to go back to that redistricting and stuff. There's nothing there is final yet because of those outstanding court cases. So we're hoping December. So then we'll have, be ready for petitions in January so that we're just, hoping and praying.
so far we got A, C and we'll get something. A, C and D, the board rules and procedure revisions. We got the ordinance, the annual budget, the tax levy, and the PACE program. That's still out there.
It was held over from last month. It's going to be off your plate this month.
I envision coming to a meeting and we don't talk about
Right,
PACE
I
someday.
apologize that it's not on the agenda for next week, so it will be added.
What's
I
that?
missed that piece, the
The
PACE
PACE?
program held over in October, if you look at the copy of your agenda for next Thursday.
Okay,
So I will add that.
so we got all, the one we're taking out of there is B. We're good with that? H, we're taking H out of there because we're gonna move that down. We're gonna talk about that in new business. Correct?
Is that the board organizational software?
Yep.
Yes, you absolutely move that down under new business.
All right.
Take it out of old.
Okay, so H is gone. Everybody understand what we're doing? Okay, I'll keep moving then. 12, new
Do we
business.
have- Yeah, I'm sorry.
Nope.
Does 11 have an H?
Yeah.
Well, not in the original version. There's a revised version.
Okay.
It was revised several times.
On
actually.
on
Where's
mine,
that at?
Yeah.
oh, on mine, I got it. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't have an H.
All right.
I go to G.
There goes.
If you did have an H,
You don't anymore. You don't need it. It's
Yep.
being moved down.
okay.
All right.
12, new business, resolution with Jim Whitley. We're gonna scratch that. He's not ready for that.
I did talk to him. So, yep.
Okay,
I'm gonna, no. It's gonna be there.
okay.
Jim's good.
Jim's good. Yep. And I don't know about Bob yet, but leave it on there, so.
Okay, we'll leave both them on there. Committee and county board meeting dates and calendar. Leave that on there. County board meetings and times.
So if we're going to be adding the claims committee next month, it would be my recommendation we hold off on that. The only thing you probably want to have a discussion about, make sure everybody's on board, is the concept of the committees being the second full week in the month. And then the county board meeting being the Thursday following the second full week in the month. So you can get that concept out there, but to actually take the calendar with those specific dates, we're going to do that in December.
Okay, so scratch C. And we'll still do D, correct?
There was a motion coming out of administration for the day, or excuse me, the evening full board meetings. So there's no other motion that I'm aware of for days. I don't know if you want to throw that out there again for conversation. It's up to you.
Well, please don't.
Right, exactly. So the motion that came out of administration was for the nighttime board meetings. And as of this point, that's all that's out there on the table for discussion.
Nighttime, is that what
Yeah.
you're doing?
Oh, God, yes.
Everybody all right with that? Bill Palin wanted to do daylight saving time, switch them up, but if you want to keep it that, the full board can, if there's a different motion on the floor, we can change it then. Right? Oh,
A
yeah,
lot of discussion. Greg Woodson brought it up every time.
yep,
Selfish with my evenings, but it's what everybody else wants to do. And if that's what can out of ad services, it's their job.
all right, well, let's leave that there. We scratched E, is resolution claims committee.
I'm sorry, Bob, we're gonna leave D on there, county board meeting times / days, and evenings.
Yep, I'm sorry,
Discussed.
yep. Hopefully there's a motion on the floor, we do evenings. All right. We'll get rid of E. F, the resolution, special use permit. G, special use permit regarding extension. It did come out of properties, right? So we already scratched H, I, J, K, and L, correct?
Correct?
Well, the new bill, we didn't scratch the new pulley, but yeah, we don't need
Yeah.
that.
That's just coming out of it.
All right, so let's go to M. We want to put the ARPA funds for audio, video upgrades in the committee room. We really don't have a price for that yet. So you want to scratch M also?
Yeah, actually, I should address that. That won't be ready. So because we got.
Yep.
But I think you do need to, Jim, not to jump in on you, but let me jump in on you.
Yeah.
I think what we need to do is just reword that, because what came out of finance and ARPA, finance is to approve the onboard and the tablets. The second phase of this will be the audio video, and we need to go out for bid on that. So it was kind of a two-step process at finance. So I think we just need to change that to ARPA funds for
Tablets and the program.
onboard and tablets.
All right, change that to that. Any questions about doing that?
Thank you, Wendy.
ARPA funds for the ROE Nexus program, leave that on there. Okay, O,
That can be scratched, because again, that's what we're going to go out for bid on.
yep, scratch O. P, the budget adjustments. And Q, the salamander device, EMA.
And I think that's why Kevin is here.
It is, exactly. Yep. So in my original capital budget request, I requested about $13,000 for Salamander Live and also Code Red, but those were, I was told to go to the ARPA funding system and see if that was available. It was, I didn't make the cut with ARPA, so I'm back because the Salamander Live system does multiple things. It tracks all our first responders when we go to a large event, keeps track of them. They have ID cards that are scanned. We also print ID cards with the sheriff. And it's a 3-year project. 3 years ago, we had people meeting with each department head, and I explained it at that time to Tom Kitson how this worked. We could get a 10% discount if we paid 3 years. So that's why it went under capital, not under my budget. So for right now, Salamander said they'd give us a free month until we decide on what to do with it. So
Put that on the agenda then and we'll discuss it with full board. Is that what you want to do?
and then just another side note, Bob, I talked to you recently about that generator. We made the first cut. It's the pre-application of the pre-application. So now we have to do a full application. It'll be a 75-25 if we make it. So
he's explain to the committee what you're doing.
there was I found out that maintenance was looking at putting a generator in at the new courts building, a larger size to fulfill the whole building and not just emergency use. I was able to do that under a program which is called an all hazard mitigation program, which we do every 5 years and update that. That was one of our projects. Only projects in the all hazard mitigation plan can be done, but we had put in there for a generator. So made that application, the pre-application is what it is. And it's a federal reimbursement. So we could, we'll actually have to spend the money, but then we'll get 75% of that back. The whole project, I think Greg had listed at 118,000. So cost the county somewhere's around 28 or 29,000.
Yeah, thank you for coming up with that. That was a good idea.
Yep.
Any questions about that? So we'll have Q on there. We'll go to 13, we'll have A, B, and C. Any questions, comments? No. Ralph will report, executive session. I'd look for a motion to approve the proposed agenda.
So
Mr. Copine first, John Nicholson seconds it. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I need a motion to adjourn.
second.
That first and second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Who was the second?